Buenos noches, Costa Mesa. It is I, Aiden Conley, the drunk fool, at you again. And I'm here with Brighton's finest rock trio. It's motherfucking Tigercub. Jimmy?
How's it going?
Jamie?
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
And we got Dawson from the Props, an LA band out here, who opened for them tonight here at the Wayfarer. And he's filling in for Mr. James Allix on drums from Tigercub. So if you want to say what's up.
Hello.
Hello. Sexual intercourse is today's topic of discussion. We're going to talk about how babies are made.
That's the thing.
Jimmy, how are babies made?
I managed it once. I wasn't planning on it.
Those are the best kinds.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, it was an Italian meal and a McCluskey concert, and then about 9 months later, I was a dad.
Jamie?
How are babies made?
Yeah.
Well, a stork comes and drops a child from the sky.
A stork, everybody. You heard it from Jamie Hall of Tigercub. All right. Enough of the funny business, you motherfuckers.
Come on. I know how babies are made, obviously.
Let's get to the fucking
production line.
I love these guys. These guys are from Brighton, England, and they're here in motherfucking Southern California, and they're on their U.S. tour. And they have a new record out called The Perfume of Decay on Loosegroove Records. And every motherfucking interviewer is asking them about this Loosegroove Records bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's saturated. It's cool. I want to get into some deep shit, if that's okay. I want to get nerdy. Let's get wicked. How about is how you guys might say it. All right. Last time I saw these guys was probably the Observatory in March of 2022.
Wow, yeah.
I was pretty fucked up, and I hung out with the bassist Jimi Wheelwright right here.
Yeah,
and we
we
smoked
did.
some California weed.
We did.
We were pretty stoned.
And alcohol.
I just met my best friend right now. And we talked about a plethora of things.
Like a spectrum of topics.
Spectrum is a great word to describe these guys. And,
Yeah, we're definitely on that.
you know, we talked about, I said, Jimmy, when is new music coming? And Jimmy said, Jamie was writing some fat riffs, is what he said. He said, the new record is going to have fat riffs. And I said, okay, in the vein of maybe something like Beauty on their previous record. And when I first heard this new record, believe me, there are fat riffs. So I want to talk to you about that, Jamie, as the composer of a lot of these riffs, I assume.
He's responsible. He started it.
You described the record in some interviews as like, you want like dance music, like club music, and poppy choruses meets Meshuggah, you know, and the down-tuning, the distorted tones, and the riffs. What led you, because there are songs in the previous record that have nastiness. Sleepwalker, Beauty, nasty, jangly, single string, top string, down-tuned riffs. What led you in that direction more so? Because a lot of the songs in the new album are dependent, I would say, on those moments. Where did that come from, as opposed to the more metallic, spacey vibe of As Blue as Indigo?
Okay. Well, I do love dance music. I love a lot of pop music as well, like the Neptunes and like Timbaland and like, you know, Justified by Justin Timberlake. Like, I love those records. So that's where a lot of like the sensibility stuff comes from.
It is not true. You serious?
Memo card.
No, are you fucking serious?
I am.
Wait, hold on.
You said memory card full and then it stopped recording twice.
No.
You know, when I listen to like Gesaffelstein or Justice or something like that, like I hear the same kind of like hardness that I hear in like, you know, Kill 'Em All by Metallica or something like that. So I don't know, it's like somewhere in between of the two. But I think it was more just like Tigercub being like a live entity for so long, and like we toured with Clutch and this band called I Hate God, and they're all just like basically like Sabbath. They just worship Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And like I've always been a big Black Sabbath fan, but to see their individual takes on Sabbath and mixing it with like, you know, all the other things that they're influenced by as well, to see that go over in a live context was like pretty massive for us. And also we were like driving through like Arizona and California and like just like the west of America, this like fucking huge scenery that, you know, we were seeing for the first time this time last year pretty much. And like we were listening to Pantera and stuff in the van, like it all just kind of connected. And I think there was something there's something in that, like Tigercub touring live, listening to all this shit in the van, and then like watching Clutch, watching I Hate God just absolutely destroy audiences. I think that just like naturally, organically lent us in the direction of like more heavy riffs, if that makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, yeah.
I saw you guys on that tour, and I recall when it was over, Jimmy, you posted something on your Instagram about how monumental it was to go on that tour, especially with I Hate God, because you had praise for their bass tone.
Oh, yeah.
And how much it's influenced you. And in that vein, I want to talk about the tones on the album, because you guys have always had enormous tones, both in the bass, guitar, and the drums. But I don't want to talk about the enormity of the distorted tones. I want to talk about the clean tones. On previous records, like As Blue as Indigo, and also especially Abstract Figures in the Dark, the clean tones that you get for clean sections or songs that are generally more clean, I don't want to use the term ballady, the keyboard sounds and the clean guitar sounds are more metallic, round, sleek sort of sounds, whereas on the Perfume of Decay, aligning kind of with the aesthetic, the gothic sort of run-down aesthetic that you showcase in the music video for Perfume of Decay, and also the album cover is a sort of gothic, tarot card-esque sort of design. The piano sounds on this album, like on the last track, for example, Help Me, I'm Dreaming, are not round. I think of Built to Fail, and Built to Fail's piano sound is a little more round and sleek, whereas there's something tempered and rustic about the piano sounds on this. And I also think of We're a Long Time Gone, whereas before, with songs like Funeral, for example, of As Blue as Indigo, the clean guitar tones are replaced by jangly, rustic acoustic guitar sounds. Where in line with the theme of fat riffs does this idea of weathered tones come from, like with an acoustic guitar or with old sounding tempered pianos?
Well, I think it's like counterpoint is everything for me when it comes to artistry and like putting together records. You know, it's sort of simplistic and a bit basic, but opposites attract. Contrasting elements always seem to fit together really well. You know, it's such a dumb like analogy, but I just think it's like the same as like sweet and salty popcorn. Do you know what I mean? Or like salted caramel or something. Yeah. It's like the two opposing forces in this world. You tend to find like this. There's always these like combinations of opposing forces that line up really well together, and I find that to be like quite a useful thing to employ on a record. So like going back to what you said, it's really nice what you said, by the way, but yeah, like having acoustic tracks and having like super clean tones or dynamics that just contrast, I think that makes for good sounding records, and that seems to like connect. Yeah.
Do you want to say something about that, Jimmy?
Well, like the clean tones, I mean, like we've been recording at this studio in Brighton. All of our records have been recorded there with like different people at the helm. You know, this last record was actually, you know, Jamie produced it. And yeah, we just like, we feel really comfortable in that space, and like, I don't know, we feel comfortable experimenting in that place. And yeah, a lot of those clean tones and the kind of weird sounds we get are just, you know, that's where our band has been like a, you know, resident of for the last decade. So yeah, I don't know. Like
the beer keg.
Yeah,
the beer keg on Swoon, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I think it appears once, if I'm not mistaken, on Until I Forget. One time.
Totally, man.
Just one hit.
That's a nod to Slipknot.
Yeah. Slipknot's great.
Love Slipknot.
And Slipknot broke first in the UK, you know, which I think is so, like...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think on the Iowa tour, like, you know, they had done Ozfest with the first album, which is maybe their best album, sorry. And when Iowa broke, it blew up in the UK. And, you know, maybe that's resonant with something like you guys, you know what I mean?
I remember it. When I was at school, yeah, Slipknot were an absolute phenomenon. They were a massive band.
They're a great band.
Again, like on tour, we were listening to all of that. You know, we listened to Iowa and like, is it Subliminal Verses?
That's a good one too.
Third record.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, we all agreed that the keg was like a nice little breadcrumb trail.
Yeah.
To like what we were listening to, which is predominantly like metal music.
I saw you post about it on Instagram, and I went, "Oh fuck yeah, Slipknot reference."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's cheeky, it's cool, like,
totally.
but you made it your own.
God,
Yeah,
right.
no, I appreciate that.
Speaking in terms of aesthetic influences on the record, I know that the title of the album comes from the Apiccia Tong We're Set to Cool film Memoria, starring Tilda Swinton. When I've heard you say that, it warmed the cinephile in me, because I'm a very, very avid film student. I'm a cinephile. I mean,
You're a Californian, right?
yeah, I love the art of cinema. I don't necessarily want to talk about that film, but I want to talk about your cinematic tastes in general. The two of you, or the three of you. I mean, there's James. Oh, he's gone.
He's in and out.
Talk about cinema for a second. I mean,
Cinema.
Coen Brothers, very important.
yeah.
Quentin Tarantino. I don't know, like, films-wise, I don't know, the weirdest things, like, old horror movies. I love a bit of, like, I don't know, Evil Dead, things like that.
Eyes Without a Face,
Ah,
Carnival of Souls, films, old art films.
Prince of Darkness. I mean, in terms of cinema, though, what are your favourite films?
My favourite film is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but me and Alice, my fiance, like, we like to watch like the Marx Brothers and stuff, and like we try and get through like some old Hollywood stuff.
Brilliant.
Even like some like It's Hot and stuff like that.
Great
you
film,
know,
great
yeah,
film.
sort of like
You
like,
like
all of that stuff.
Billy Wilder, like The Apartment, stuff like that.
Yeah, and Alfred Hitchcock as well. You know, like, yeah, The Birds and fucking like Vertigo. Is it North by Northwest? Whatever the fuck it's called. It's really great. And then like, yeah, spaghetti western stuff as well.
Oh, yeah,
Really
the
into that.
soundtracks. Come on.
Yeah, man.
Morricone.
Yeah, Ennio Morricone is like a huge influence.
Yeah.
Musically, is what like.
I feel like a lot of bands that reach for that aspect of grandeur and massiveness look to film composers like that. Yeah. And you have composers like Ennio Morricone, who is so known for his epic stuff. I mean, Metallica still to this day walk out to Ecstasy of Gold. You know what I mean? And it's the coolest fucking thing you've ever seen.
It's great.
And then there are other film composers. For example, I think of also a director and a writer, Mr. John Carpenter, who his film scores have influenced heavy music.
Oh, massive.
Alternative music.
Queens, like on Villains and stuff, I really felt the Carpenter influence.
Yeah.
Carpenter.
It was like popularized by Stranger Things and stuff, and like Tangerine Dream and shit all started to become part of like a more mainstream conversation.
In my opinion, it traces back to Wendy Carlos with those early Kubrick films. Wendy Carlos, she did the score to The Shining, Clockwork Orange, and in fact, on the Villains tour,
Your knowledge is so good.
the Queens of the Stone Age walked out to the Clockwork Orange theme by Wendy Carlos on the Villains tour. That's what they came out to. Yeah, you guys are playing with Queens of the Stone Age on this upcoming Sunday at Aftershock Festival in Sacramento, right? In the SAC.
Yeah, the sack.
Not the fucking SAC,
Hopefully
man.
we get back from the sack. I'm sure we will.
I met a guy from Sacramento who had a hand fetish. That was like his sexual like thing. He was like, kind of like how people like feet. Like he was like into hands like that. And he offered me acid, and I said no, because I didn't have my gloves on me. But let's talk about Queens of the Stone Age. That shit is very apparently an influence on your music, and I'm a Queens. I think the three of us on this couch can agree.
Oh, yeah.
We are Queens of the Stone Age tragics.
We
Yeah.
like the same music.
Yeah. I mean, we're cut from a similar cloth in terms of that. The new album, In Times New Roman. I just want to hear, what do you guys think about it? Real brief.
We like it.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I love
Moody.
In Times New Roman. It's just got all the gears you want of a Queen's record.
And then like Paper Machete's, like, it's just such a call
Instant
back to
classic.
like OG Queens.
Uh-huh.
They gave us that. And that's sort of like the sequel to like Clockwork, isn't it? It's like that completes the narrative.
It
Yeah,
is, because
that
it's a sad record.
Villains as well.
It is.
It's a sad album.
It deals with really heavy shit. I mean, God, they've been through stuff. I love it when like people's lives get kind of like washed out onto records, and Queens always do that.
Whether he wanted it or not, there's no way that Mr. Hami's life wasn't going to be on full blast on this record. You know what I mean? And I think it's a brave thing to come out and go, look at what's going on. And
He's such a talented songwriter and like artist, and like the way he can like suck up his influences and like put them back out and make it his own is like so special. I think like I hear so much like Berlin era Bowie in
Okay,
the later,
okay.
the
Yeah,
later
yeah.
Queen stuff, especially on the
Yeah.
new record. Like, I just hear so much of that like croonery. I just think he's so talented. It's like scary.
There's a thing about that in Times New Roman record about this life being washed away, like you said, into the record. As Blues Indigo, for example, you know, I feel like it's an album of grief. You know what I mean? I get the sense that it's an album of a particular kind of grief and a loss. You know what I mean? And it's reflected in the themes of the lyrics and the tones. It's cold. It's distant. You know what I mean? They're repeating ideas like the 10-mile stare and the reference of colors, you know, and Autumn of My Years as Blues Indigo, Blue Mist in My Head. The album cover even is similar to the album covers that you've done before on previous EPs, your first record, Abstract Figures, and I Want to Get Fucked Up, the single, have this striated sort of abstract, for lack of a better term, artwork, where you went with a more gothic, in-your-face sort of album cover of this. It's an image that evokes ideas of death and mortality. And I know you talk about this album being influenced by nighttime, and in particular you talk about it being influenced by the sea at night and how it washes and how it breaks, and it's ominous and it's frightening. You know what I mean? What about Brighton and its relationship to the sea and your relationship to the night? You know, I feel we were talking about Queens of the Stone Age. They made Lullabies to Paralyze. That was their album lit by candlelight, I feel. This is when we first listened to it, I said, this is Tigercub made their album that when it's over, and Help Me, I'm Dreaming's out, I go, and I blow out the candle, and the night's over. You know what I mean? What about Brighton and your surroundings and the life you've lived since as Blues Indigo and the loss that influenced that record made you make this?
I'd love hearing you talk about our records like this. The fact that you think this in depth and you receive it that way, it's so nice.
The drunk fool strikes again, everybody.
He's got the core of the issue.
There's something about, like, I don't know, Brighton. I live on the seafront in Brighton, and like the sea is just like, it's just like such a powerful force. Like, if you don't, whenever I've been like swimming in the sea, like the moment I stop respecting the sea and I start to get cocky with it, that's exactly the moment when it gives me a reminder that it's just like, no, this is a force much greater than you. And that's like quite a grounding, I don't know, it's kind of sublime. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
Humbling.
it's humbling, yeah, exactly. It's like it sort of centers you back, and like a lot of people like drown in Brighton. A lot of people like get pissed and go for a swim and end up getting fucking like washed out and washed up, and they die and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, the sea is this, again, like going back to like contrast. It's like the sea is something that you associate with like happy times, summer holidays, but also it's just like it'll kill you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just something really quite powerful about it, you know, and as well at night time as well, like, you know, if I'm DJing or working or something, like I'll always like get a beer and just like sit on the sea and on my own and look out on it and look out on the English Channel, and the moon's there and the sea's out there, and it's this thing I can't get away from, with and symbolism as well, and like the words that you use to describe the sea are like so useful as a songwriter, like the undertow and like the swell and the wash, all of these like words and these vowel sounds and stuff that you can like get from just like a general vocabulary that people have used historically to describe the sea are like beautiful to put down on in my journal and stuff, and like they make for great lyrics.
Yeah.
Right? So I like it. I'm not done with like writing about the sea. It's fucking amazing source of, you know, like, it's a great metaphor. It's used, we've heard it before, we've seen it before, but, you know, I like it.
Where does the anger fit into this album? Because you're not a particularly aggressive band. You're vulnerable. You know what I mean? Even since you're
Yeah, we are.
Wussy.
Lovers, not fighters.
But Until I Forget is a track that stands out. It's very Reznor-esque. You know what I mean? And it's drum programming and it's layering of screams, and it's good to hear you scream because as long as I've known you, I've always geeked on the screams on if there's poison in the water, there's poison in the well, you know, or the screams on Migraine, you know, like, And we were pretty delighted when they appear on Until I Forget. Where does the anger still come from? After having success and maturing and being influenced by the sea, where does the anger on a song like that come from?
Well, that it's not. I'm not screaming on that track. I'm actually whispering, and we just like
It's like you on it. I wanna get
cranked.
fucked up.
I want to get fucked up. You
It's like
whisper
you
it,
on it, yeah.
and you whisper it.
And it's like a whisper will sound like way more intense, way closer than a scream ever could, you know. And we just like jacked the preamp, and I just whispered into it, and it just made this like really fucking crazy intense
It
sound.
sounds awesome.
So like, you know, to answer your question, like it doesn't come from a place of aggression or frustration or anything like that. It's actually a whisper. So it's more like
Too.
passive aggressive.
It's very in line with the album,
Mhm.
Perfume of Decay. Perfume, it generally sort of, you know, maybe
Odorous.
maybe effeminate, sort of, you know, a vulnerable word, the perfume of decay, and then you pair it with decay, something ravishing, you know, and intimidating, like the fact of what decay is.
Perfume is like a positive connotation, and
Yeah.
decay is a negative connotation.
It's about contrast, isn't it, Jamie? What about you mentioned that the chord progression on Swoon is kind of like it's from an Eminem song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And like all great songwriters, myself included, you know,
You give a little.
you
You see
grab something
something
and you
like-
go, hey, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna give it my own little twist. Where did the chord progression for The Dark Below come from? Because it uses a lot of inversions and it's very classical. The way it uses, I mean, if you want to get real nerdy, if my music degrees are going to come out, there's the 5 of 5. There's the F major chord that appears that, you know, sort of resolves to that B flat power chord that you start the song with. You know, where did that come from? Did The Dark Below come from something where you heard it and go, I'm going to do something like that? Or did it come out of you strictly?
The Dark Below. The Dark Below, I like a lot of like Fall Out Boy stuff, and there's some stuff that they had that I was like, oh, it's fucking really cool. I'm a big fan of like Baroque music.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very Baroque.
yeah, I really like that, and I followed this breadcrumb trail. Like, I was a big fan of like the TV series Rick and Morty, right? And at the end of one of their seasons, they played a song called "For the Damaged Coda" by Blonde Redhead, and I heard that and I was like, fuck my life, this is so good. I'm a big Radiohead fan as well.
Yeah.
And I realized that For the Damaged Coda is actually a Chopin track.
Progression.
I think it's like Nocturnes number 9
That's
from this like collection that he has, and it's like you listen to that song and it's For the Damaged Coda by Blonde Redhead. And I started listening to them, and I was like, oh, this is fucking amazing. Followed the breadcrumb trail, started listening to Chopin, and then I was like, shit, these chords are amazing, right? Started working them out, and then started fucking around with them, and I was like, oh, okay, this is Karma Police by Radiohead. Okay. Even, what's that fucking guy called? Barry Manilow.
Okay.
He's got a song. Was it, da 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 da. Could this be the magic? I can't remember what
Right,
it's called.
that's actually.
But that is a Chopin. That's an absolute dead cert Chopin tune. And I was like, oh, these motherfuckers are ripping from dead composers.
Polish
We're all
fucking,
stealing.
yeah.
Mhm.
We're all stealing. So I started just getting those chords and those voicings under my fingers. And then all of these songs came out.
Wow. That's incredible, because I actually once wrote a heavy rock song entirely like ripping a Chopin nocturne.
Did you?
I did.
You like.
I love Chopin. I'm writing
Built to Fail.
Satie.
Built to Fail is actually I downloaded the MIDI for an Eric Satie track and just rearranged the chords.
Yes.
No.
I'm writing a screenplay about Chopin and his relationship to his lady. You should look into how weird that was.
Oh, I don't
Oh
know.
wow, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
dude,
get into it.
I want to make a movie about Chopin's
thing.
romantic life.
But there's a depth of harmony with all of that old stuff, which is like massively overlooked. And like, I think, you know, like if you like Oasis, everyone's like, oh, you should listen to the Beatles, right?
I don't mind
Actually, you
Oasis.
should listen to fucking Bach and Beethoven, because
Yeah.
that's where the Beatles are fucking ripping from.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know.
I do love Oasis. I want to quote you as we asked you last time I was with you. Oasis or Blur? We were in some sort of heated debate, and you said I didn't go to art. You said I didn't go to art school in London, so I'm gonna pick the boys in Oasis. That's what you said.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 9 years old, I was listening to Oasis. That was like my route into music. So, yeah, I've got a big soft spot for them.
Go to an Oasis track.
Oh.
And why is it Slide Away?
It ain't Slide Away.
Ah, motherfuckers, it's Slide Away.
I'm gonna say Half the World Away.
Amazing.
That was a B-side.
Yeah, it was on Master Plan.
They have the best fucking B-sides.
They do.
Jamie?
I really like that record they've got called Standing on the Shoulder of Giants.
Gas Panic.
I have to be here
Panic.
now.
Because that's like clearly like the beta band and like just a lot of like music that trip hop and stuff, the music that employed breaks were like in vogue at the time, so they were clearly influenced by that. And I think that's a really cool thing that they touched on, and they left that. But that album got fucking slated when it came out, but I think that record is amazing.
Good pick. Good pick.
Don't let it out.
Yeah.
That's a fucking banger.
You mentioned the Master Plan, bro.
Love that record.
I mean, Talk Tonight.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
that's a fucking song that is really, really profoundly attached to my personal life.
Yeah.
Talk Tonight is a beautiful,
It's great.
save my life kind of song. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
only you guys, you British people, can write these fucking songs that are just so powerful, and they're just, they travel the world and they
We're
touch
from
people.
a grey, disparate place. Like Oasis were a northern band. They're like, they follow this lineage of like Manchester kind of bleak bands. I don't know. Yeah, it touches you. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Brilliant. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to this interview before we wrap it up?
A-Cab.
I'll take it. I agree.
You heard it from J&J. This has been The Drunk Fool with Tigercub here. Make sure to check out their new album on Loosegroove Records called The Perfume of Decay. If you like riffs and you want to dance in a cage in scantily clad underpants.
I can't put it better.
Agreed.
10 out of 10.